Okay, my beautiful friends, here we go. Finally, back together again. I missed all of you from the heart. I mean that. So much to talk about. I don't know where to start. So how about this? This is my newest segment of Markets, a look ahead. So much going on in this market, where we're going, where we've been over the past week since I've been away. And we'll get to that. But just real quick, so as most of you know at least, I just finished a cross-country trek from Las Vegas, Nevada, all the way here to Sarasota, Florida. Let me just bring all of you up to speed real quick. I bought a house in Bradenton, Florida, Lakewood Ranch more specifically. That house is being built. It's not going to be done till like November. So I did sell my house in Vegas. It kind of went a lot quicker than I thought it would. So I was like, okay, what do I do? So I rented this Airbnb here in Sarasota. It's beautiful, absolutely gorgeous over here. I love Sarasota. I've never been to it before. Anyway, so I'm going to be here in this place until the other house is done. So with that said, let's talk a little bit about my cross-country trip. Absolutely beautiful. This country is gorgeous. I drove through ghost towns, all kinds of old cars sitting on the side of the road. A couple of them I wish I could have taken home. Like just abandoned derelict cars sitting there probably for decades. Anyway, so with that said, I missed you. I missed all of you so much. It felt weird kind of, being away. But anyway, we're together again, and it is time for us to get back to work. So that's exactly what we're going to do here in this newest segment of Markets, a look ahead. Over the past week since I've been away, nothing major went on here with this market. But this week is going to be interesting. This is a Markets, a look ahead video here. We got the Federal Reserve. And the market right now is anticipating, at least I believe, that the Fed is going to raise rates this week. I've been telling you this since a while now. We had the pause. The pause is over with now. So we're going to get a rate hike, in my opinion, 25 basis points. I don't believe it's going to be the last one, although we did hear from former Fed Chair Ben Bernanke, that thing over there saying that this will probably be the last one. Look, this man, no other individual in the history of the financial world has frankly screwed the world more than this guy. You remember how the mortgage freaking meltdown, the global financial crisis, he caused it. Okay, he's the guy. It was contained. It was not going to spread. Everything he said was obviously wrong. But he understood this. Look, there's no way he did not know. But the man should seriously have been put in jail. He should be in handcuffs today for life. What he did cost people a lot more than what Bernie Madoff did. But he's out there scot-free getting paid $1 million per speech. Imagine my shock. Imagine your shock. But in this twisted, upside-down freak show of a world, what else would you expect? I mean, quite honestly. So yes, we're going to get a rate hike. How's the market going to respond? As I said, I think it's getting priced in. How do we know it's getting priced in? Are you watching the Mannarino Market Risk Indicator, the MMRI? Link in the description of this video. It's been quite an interesting little thing to watch as of late. 10-year yield rising again. Last time I checked the MMRI, it was 241. We'll see, but it's not so much. I mean, like I said, the market's pricing this in. So in my view, it's not so much that we're going to get a hike. It's going to come out of its mouth, it being Yellowstone Powell, after the announcement of the hike, which is going to happen. If it's going to happen, so just forget about it. All right. This market here seems to be in some kind of freak show la la land, and we're beyond that right now. And did you hear what Morgan Stanley said? Morgan Stanley, the super bank, is praising a lovely, illustrious thing sitting behind the Resolute desk saying Bidenomics is working and the economy is doing well. Nothing could possibly be further from the truth. And even with that, again, last week, what did we find out? That leading economic indicators, every single freaking one of these leading economic indicators is pointing lower. Still, there's no recovery at all whatsoever. This is getting worse and worse and worse. We've never seen a yield curve this inverted in the history of the world. And just do your own research on this. Every single time we've never had this before, but a yield curve inversion like this has led to a major recession. And we're going rapidly into something much, much worse than that, yet to be defined, in my view, a depression. Speaking of that, we found out last week that prices continue to inflate. Inflation is still out of control. Food inflation continues to outpace everything else. Imagine my shock, imagine your shock. You and I have known this since day freaking one. It's insane. Absolutely insane. So with that said, let's just cover a few things here. As I said, this is the Federal Reserve Wednesday is the big market moving event. Let's see how this plays out here. What do we need to do, you and me? We're never going to deviate from our plan. Exposure to commodities is key here. Physical gold, silver more specifically, crude oil. Crude oil, people, I'm telling you, I've been saying this since before I took my little cross-country road trip here. It's going to be over $80 a barrel relatively soon. Mark my words. Again, I have put out no less than three complete lists of exchange-traded funds that you might want to look at to get exposure to commodities. As a matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to do it again. Right after this video, I'm going to put another list of exchange-traded funds in my free newsletter, link in the description of this video, so you can, consider these kinds of things here. All right. Now, with that said, let us move forward to, I don't even know where to start. This is out of control. So as we all know, this whole Fed Now thing went live on Thursday. This is the prelude, in my view, and a lot of other people's view, to this new system that we know is coming here. They're going to phase out the dollar in its current form. Speaking of that, central banks continue their race to the bottom that is sucking the purchasing power out of the currency globally. Again, this is also, in my view, a move to a one world kind of cross-border currency. I think we're pretty much all on the same page with that. And more than that, actually. So going back again to news from last week while I was away, debts and deficits continue to balloon out of control at their fastest pace ever in history. Now, let's think, you and me, for just a moment here. It's not too hard. Let's put on our little thinking caps for just a moment. What do we believe is going to happen, you and me? And I'm going to read the comments, and I want to hear from you on this. Do you believe that the situation with debts and deficits is going to change? Do you think by some miracle that debts and deficits are going to fall? No. How do we know this to be a fact? What do you and me know is the goal of every single central bank on this planet Earth? What is it? Exactly. To inflate. So we know they're not going to pay down debts and deficits. It's not going to happen. So they're going to inflate. They're going to try to continue to inflate out of it, which is an impossibility. So what does that mean? Debts and deficits are going to continue to balloon out of control with no end in sight. So with understanding that, central banks are going to continue to inflate, none more so than the Federal Reserve. Well, what do you want to do? You want to be on the opposite side of that trade, right? Commodities exposure, gold, silver, understanding that inflation is going to continue to rise. But you're not allowed to know any of this stuff. You see, they can't tell you. But does it make sense to you that central banks are going to, we're getting blurry here, going to continue to inflate? Or do you think, again, we're going to march into some utopian society where central banks are going to say, we're going to stop inflating? Absolutely not. You're going to have our current and future so-called representatives who represent nothing. You and I are getting the big fat shaft in the gabagool, and I mean deep, That's not going to stop here, okay? It's every man, every woman for him or herself, but we got each other's backs, and that's the most important thing. Oh, speaking of that, thank you for all the birthday wishes. Yes, yesterday was my birthday, and I must have got thousands and thousands of happy birthday wishes. I went to the drag races last night over here at Bradenton. That was awesome. I went out to dinner. The charter club, whatever it was over there on, I don't know, near Lido Beach, actually. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So, with our understanding, you and me, of where this is going to go, debts and deficits continuing to balloon, central banks continuing to inflate, war spreading much farther, much wider, the continuing funding for war, for which, you and I have no choice. We have to continue to fund wars around the world. Because, we do have a voice, right? You and I, we have a voice, right? How about no? Anyway, let us move forward here. Here's something very interesting, and I want to explain this to you in a little more detail. So last week we found out that applications for credit, credit cards and personal loans, skyrocketed. We're seeing a phenomenon here that we've seen before. Whenever first of all, people are maxed out. They're done. Retail sales, that's another thing. Retail sales hit the flat line last week. And the U.S. economy is 70% dependent on retail sales. Now we have a situation where the average guy and average girl who can't get by right now because our economy is so strong, because Bidenomics is great. You know it is, because they're telling you, Morgan Stanley said Bidenomics is fantastic. So it must be because a Wall Street superbank, they're the authority and we're just, we're the serfs, they're the overlords. So they must be right. But applications for credit, applications for loans is starting to pick up here, and we've seen this phenomenon prior to every single recession because people can't get by. All right, so what they're trying to do is they're getting maxed out. Meanwhile, they're trying to apply for more credit. They're not going to get it, a lot of them, and then they're going to fall into recession, depression. And again, look, people should not be doing this. They're burying themselves in a hole they can't possibly get out of. And that's the mechanism here to create this new two-tier society, this neo-feudal system that you and I have spoken about for over a freaking decade. You understand? And it's really in our freaking face. Speaking about credit, so again, last week, U.S. household debt soars to a new record high, and loan defaults are skyrocketing. Meanwhile, people are applying for even more credit. U.S. housing starts cratered. Part of the depression, recession. No, we're going way, way beyond that. I mean, this is yet to be defined. So that's interesting. And also something else. Imagine my shock. Imagine your shock. More talk of shortages, food shortages, more specifically resource shortages. This is going to get so ugly, people, moving down the line here. Now, there was an interesting article here that caught my attention, at least. This is from Bloomberg. I forgot what day this was last week. This is the headline of Bloomberg. Look it up for yourself. U.S. dollar decline to accelerate. Can I please get a duh? No, duh. Again, what are central banks doing? They're a race to the bottom. They're wiping out the purchasing power of their currency by design. They're doing this because they're going to continue to inflate because there's no way out of it. We're not going to pay down debts and deficits, so the only alternative here is to inflate. Does that make sense to you? I will read the comments. Let me know if that makes sense to you. Okay, just freaking lovely. Let me see here. What else did I want to talk about here? Fed meeting we spoke about too. Leading economic indicators. I can't even read what I wrote here. I was scribbling this stuff down. Oh yeah, here we go. This is pretty sad. Now, you and I have addressed this issue before, but I want to talk about it a little bit more. When I was leaving Vegas, pretty much on every major street corner there was someone out there holding up a sign. Homeless need help. Homeless need help. So homelessness rises 37.6% in just the last year. Now this is again part of the new system. Former members of the middle class being forced down to the lower rung of society. on a much grander scale here. Again, we have the overlords like the Morgan Stanleys and everybody else here on the other side. The middle class is being systematically erased. You all know that. On a scale that we've never seen before. And this is deliberate. It's by design. It's central banks here colluding with so-called world leaders. We know who the real leaders of the world are. It is the central banks collectively, and they are working towards their goal to own it all. And continue to force people into debt servitude and obviously dependency on the system. You understand? That's the key. Dependency on the system. And you and I, although we're stuck in this kind of thing, we're taking the right steps here. We know what's going on. We're taking action. We're not just sitting back and doing nothing, okay? This is a channel for people of action, people who are betting against the debt, becoming their own central banks, loving each other, caring about each other, becoming charitable to each other, getting together with like-minded people. I can't stress this stuff enough. We're going to need each other more than ever. You know what I did? The first thing I did when I moved into this Airbnb that I'm in right now is I started just to interact with some of my neighbors. All right, let them know, hey, you know, I'm here. I want to get to know you. It's so important. Okay, stop. You gotta think outside the box. You know, most people walk through time and space and life with blinders on. You know, they walk by people without acknowledging them. They don't say hello to anyone anymore. And this is part of the scheme too. Keep people in the box. Turn them into some kind of drone-like creatures who don't interact with their environment, who don't interact with other people. It's, you know, like, again, why? Because you turn on the mainstream propaganda and they're telling you, you know, this person's your enemy, that person's your enemy. You gotta hate these people, and you gotta hate these people even more. No, we are one family. Okay, this is how the few have controlled the many since time immemorial. You understand? We have the power, but unfortunately, people don't realize it, and this is how they're led to the slaughter, and that's exactly what's going on here, being led to the slaughter. All right, so with that said, I covered a lot with you here. This video is getting kind of long. Anyway, so the situation is we're going to hear from the Fed this week. Market's kind of stuck in a range here. You need exposure to commodities. People continue to bet against the debt. Become your own central bank. Silver is still my ultimate favorite asset of all time. Cryptos did fall under some pressure last week, but I do believe there's a massive upside here. You know my take on cryptocurrencies as well. But I can't imagine a better spot to be in commodities, and more specifically physical silver. In my opinion, okay, and I'm just going to say this here, and a lot of people are going to hate me for saying this, but you need to continue to have exposure to the long end of the market. I've been net long this market for many, many years here now. As a matter of fact, I bought more shares of JEPI. JEPI pays a nice monthly dividend. I like that cash flow. You understand? All right, people, look, like I said, covered so much with you today. I'm so happy to be back with you. We're going to resume the festivities. We started here. You'll see me in the morning for my usual pre-market report. We got this, you and me. We will remain so far ahead of the curve. It's just, frankly, you know, insane to me, but that's exactly what we're gonna be. We're untouchable. We're invincible. You know why mostly? Because we have each other, and that's a fact. All right, I'll see you in the morning. This guy here loves you from the heart with all I got. Thank you for all your birthday wishes and everything else, and I missed you, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right.